Hi, I'm Nayeli. I'm gonna do my best to show you the quickest and easiest way to create a form using the new Wix Code editing features. If you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook or the Wix forum. I decided to pick a random template from Wix that was already pre-made. I tweaked it a little bit because some of the other information was not necessary for the example that we're going to go over. This is what the editor should look like before you activate the Wix Code developer tools. Basically, you just have to go to the tools setting up here, select developer tools, and it will refresh your editor, and you will see this really nice pop-up here on the side. This is basically just a fancier way of showing your pages and what's on it, and down here is where your database collection will be. This is basically where we will start. But before we do, I want to show you the Add button now has new sections. This one is the Add Database Elements and the User Input, which we'll be using a lot. So after you've activated your developer tools, let's create a new collection. Give it whatever name you want. For the sake of this example, I am pretending I'm going to make a website listing for babysitters that are looking for a job or that want to post their information to be contacted by potential employers. So I'm going to name it Babysitter. Now we have to select what type of permissions this actual data is going to have. Now these are not the permissions for the actual site or the actual page that the information is going to be on. This is just for the information that they're adding. For example, if the information that you're collecting will only be visible to members, this is the content for members setting that you have to select. Let's say that user-generated content anyone can view, but only members can post. That means on your website it will be a member website and they have to sign up as a member. They have to be approved, and then they can use the form to submit information to add it to the database. Maybe this is private data. Maybe this is just for your eyes only. So you created the form. You're creating the information that's being submitted into the database, so you're the only one that's going to see it. Or maybe you have some custom features. For right now, I'm going to allow everyone, so I'm going to put anyone can submit. Now the database is being created. This little column, title, will be there by default. You can't change the title. You cannot delete it. And those features are not available just yet. They are working on them, but not sure when they will be completed. So for now, kind of either just use it as your main field or skip it and use the other fields. Just because it's here, you don't have to use it when we're selecting the different types of fields in your form. I know it may bother you that it's just kind of sitting there blank, but if you don't want to use the word title, then you don't have to use it. I actually will be using the word title. I'm going to use it for the title of the babysitter. I'll give you an example in just a moment. So we'll go over these as we need them. For right now, I want to add a field name. Field name is actually these little boxes. I'll show you how to add the boxes later. this is a field. A field is the place where you're gonna input information, and every single box will hold unique information, so therefore every single box has to have a unique field name. Let's go back to the database. The first one I'm going to add is going to be the name. I want the name of the person. Notice how when I type in name here, it gives it a field key name. This key name is very important that it is completely unique, no matter how many names you will be using in your form. Let's say you have a name for a company, name for a person, name for a business. Those are all names. But this little field key needs to be unique because it is used in JavaScript code. So if there are two field names that are identically the same, then the code won't know what to do. It will get confused. So this is why this field name has to be unique as well. So I'm just going to label it name. And the type of field it's going to be is just text. You can select image. I don't know how to say this one. Boolean, y'all can tell me later. And number, a date and time, or rich text. Let's not use this one for now, we're just going to use plain text. So I'm going to add that field, and there it is. I'm also going to use the one for title. That'll be the person's title. It really could be used for a subtitle or any little extra info that they want to add, so I'll leave that one there. We will be using it. Then I'm going to have intro. I want them to be able to add a little paragraph, a little introduction to who they are, what they do. Then I want phone. That'll be a text. Email. I'm going to ask for their Facebook link. I'm going to be asking for their availability. The availability, I'm going to select this one because I actually want it to be check marks, and I want them to check all of the available options that you'll see me list in a bit. Okay, so now all of my fields are created. Basically looks like a plain spreadsheet. You can filter it, sort it, whatever you want. Whenever you change anything here, make sure that you click the sync and you copy all items to the live database, because whatever you do here is considered the sandbox, which means you're kind of just playing around with it, building it, molding it to what you need, and then you got to sync it up and send it out. It's kind of like your mini publish button of the data names fields that you're creating. So we've already created all the fields that we need. Now we get to go and create our form. These little boxes, they're called input boxes. Here, let me find the correct name for you. User input elements. Okay, so it's a user input element. A lot of people were getting confused because they see the word input, so they think information is going in and then no information is going to come back out. Or maybe information is going in for the first time. These fields are actually used for when you want to add, receive information in your database, or when you want to display it, but they can also edit it afterwards. You want to use these buttons, or elements, I'm sorry, elements. So to add an element, drag and drop, choose the style that you want. You can also change the design, same as always, color, border, corners, etc. Because I want to do this video as short as possible, I'm not going to really change the design or worry about what it looks like. I just want to give you an idea of kind of where you can place them. So I had name, a title, I need an intro. I'm gonna make this one. Actually, I'm going to grab a wider element. I'm gonna drag a text box. Again, I'm not gonna worry about what it looks like, the design. I will leave the background like that. I just need the actual field boxes so I can connect them, show you how to connect them. I have a field for the phone, the email, the Facebook link, and now I need availability. So since the availability that I chose, remember I did not choose text, I was actually going to choose check marks. So this is where you get those from. These check marks and these radio buttons, all these fall under the Boolean type. So this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to get this one, just drag and drop. You can drag and drop as many as you need, or you can copy and paste. I need 4 of them. So I'm going to head copy paste 4 and put them wherever. So now I have all my elements in place. This will be my submit button just because it's already there. Again, not worried about what it looks like, if it's pretty or not. Just want to show you how it functions and how it connects. This is my database, and I created the field names. Now I need to tell the database I want you to connect to these elements on my page because I want somebody to enter that information and save it under the correct category. So I'm going to click on the first one. This little button here says connect to data. So I need to connect it to a data. Before I can, there's actually no data on this page. This page doesn't know what data to connect any of these elements to. So in order to tell it what data I'm going to be choosing, I have to go over here to the tools, database. Now I'm going to add a new collection. Sorry, data set. I'm going to add a new data set. Connect to page elements to your data. I can literally place it anywhere. If I publish or if I preview, this little icon thing remains invisible. It's only, basically it's the glue. There's a name over here, there's the glue here, and I'm going to paste it on these elements that I want it to connect to. So your data set is your glue. Now I'm going to connect the data set, and I'm going to choose a collection. I want my glue to connect to the babysitter. So now the dataset's name is babysitter dataset. You can change it if you want to, it really doesn't matter. But this is where you get to choose the settings of how people are going to see this or who is going to see this. So currently the default setting, it says read only. Well, I don't want them to read my form, I want them to write in it. For the purpose of making this video faster, I'm just going to select write only. If you need them to write or edit again, re-enter, etc., you would choose read and write. So for right now, write only. I'm not going to apply any filters, that's not needed because we're just typing information into a form. So this is done. All of my settings are done. My glue is on my page. It's going to glue these elements to this data collection over here, my spreadsheet. So whenever somebody types in something here, my glue will know where to save that information in the corresponding columns right here. So it's very important. If you have no glue, you have no working form. Okay, now I have my glue. Let me select this one. I want the first element to connect to the name. The name will be there. The next one I want it to connect to the title. Notice that after I connect it and it successfully connects, it glues it together, this little icon will turn green. So you know that something is connected. These are still black, so nothing is connected. So I did name here, title, let me do the intro over here. Now I'm going to do phone and email. See, it already connected. This will be the email. Now look at this really cool thing. I click connect and I just kind of move my mouse there. I don't press anything and it just scrolls by itself. The last one there is going to be Facebook. So I'm thinking I may have done this one wrong. Let me see. Well, yeah. Let me go back because I did one availability. And the thing is, I'm not doing a drop down, so I cannot do one box. I need to have 4 since I'm going to have 4 different options. I'm going to have to change this. Gonna hide it just so I don't get confused with the other ones, but I'm gonna put AVAM for available in the AM. It's still the same category type. AVPM. Remember, if you choose a wrong category and you add it, you cannot delete it. That function is not available yet. Only hiding is available. And then you will be forced to label it something different and unique. Available weekday. And available weekend. These are the 4 options I want. Now I have enough to connect it to these little tiny check marks. Notice how it's a group element. Just click again so you can select the little square and then connect it to the field that you want. So availability doesn't exist anymore because I hid that column. So I won't be able to look at it over there. This is going to be AM. Notice how the other ones stay gray. These are not available because these do not qualify for the little check mark, the checkbox. It's only these. PM. Weekday. And weekend. So all of my elements are connected. After you connect them, you can go back and design them. Notice how it just says add your name, add your name, add your name. This will actually be displayed exactly like that if you publish the form. So to change that, you can change the settings, this little settings button. This this part, the text settings, it says show text on load. If you want to put none, it'll just completely erase that. But since on this form I don't have any labels, I kind of do want to put placeholder text. So here I'll be able to type it. I'll put your name. Then you can select if it's required or not, or if this is just read only. My form is not read only because I do want to collect that information from them, and it is required. I do not want to leave that blank, so I'll go ahead and leave required. Notice how you can also add a limit length or a pattern validation. Let's say you want to add a browser, a URL, then you would add the pattern that you want it to look like. In this case, we don't have a pattern. It doesn't really matter how they type in their name. This is all the information I'm going to add, and I'm going to close that out and it saves. And then I'll do that for the other ones as well. This one is title. They can add a title. I'll put /heading so that way they know it's not exactly their job title. It could be any type of title, and I won't require it. It will just be optional. This one, add your story, maybe? Not sure, but it will be required. They do need to add a little bit about themselves. Phone number. Again, if you forgot where to change it, it's here in the little settings button. And all I'm doing is making sure that it does have a placeholder text, because I do want them to read a little note to kind of help them out and figure out what they need to be typing in there. Especially since I don't have any labels. And you can do this with or without labels. Depends on the design that you want to go for. I'll put Facebook URL and that won't be required. And you know what? No, let's not require that right now. This one, I'm just going to edit the text here. AM availability. Alright, I've already finished the rest of my labels for the other selections of when they are available. And after you create all the elements for the form, now you need a way to submit it. You could add literally any button that you like. Just go to the buttons, add a button. My page already has a button because it kind of goes with the color theme that was already on the template. So I'm going to leave that button there. I'm going to link this button, not through the link here, through the database. Why? Because I don't want it to go somewhere. I want it to do something. So I'm going to click on the database, and the database already knows that I've selected a button, so now it wants me to label it. Is it going to link to a specific label that I have somewhere? No, I already chose my specific text, and I'm going to leave it like that. I just want to put, well, actually I'll change that. It says thank you. I'll put submit right now. And then what do I want to link it to? I want it to link to an action. I want it to submit the form. Notice how there's other other actions, it goes to the next item or the previous item. Revert, delete, new. Those, I mean, you can figure out what those do, and then whenever you're creating fancier forms, then you can use those. We'll use the next and previous action in a bit. And then after it's successful, what do you want it to do? Make sure you do connect it to something, somewhere, a page. Do not leave it blank, because if you do, it just won't do anything. It won't go anywhere. If people don't see a successful message, they're going to think it didn't do anything. Let me submit the form again. And they'll either submit the form again 1 or 2 more times, or they'll eventually just give up and leave your web page. So you don't want to do that. You want to send them off somewhere, either to a small light box that says successful, or to a different page on your website. So I want it to link to a page, and I'll just leave it to view. I only have 2 pages, view profile. So I want it to send it the person that way. So that's done. Now I've already finished my button. Oh, look at that. I have to submit. Okay. Let me change the text. Submit. Remember, don't link it there. It's already been linked to a function. We don't want to cause an error. Alright, so that's done. Let's publish the site. Remember, I have this little glue button here, icon, that is gluing this information to there. This one won't be visible. So let's go ahead and preview. Everything looks okay. I forgot what the link was, so let me publish it again so I can visit the page. Don't try to test your form in preview mode, because it will not work. You have to go to the live website. So now I'm going to the live website. Okay, so here's my live form. Look at how fancy it looks. You can change these colors, of course, in the design. I'm going to test it out. We won't be able to view anything because we haven't fixed the other page yet, but at least we'll be able to submit something. So let's test to see if it works. So I'm going to put my name. This is a test. My phone number. Well, and I'm going to leave that blank since it was optional. This is my story. This is where we will be testing the form. And I am going to copy and paste that a few times. I left all the buttons on default, so there we go. And then submit. It was successful. I don't have a successful pop-up, but it went through because it took me to the profile page. So now let's go to the profile page. Now that I have a form that collects information and it's stored in a database, I want to display that information on a page on my website so other people can see it. How do I do that? I'm going to create a dynamic page. That means that the page stays the same, but the information being displayed on the page is going to change based on the record that I'm on. So, settings. I have nothing here. Let me see. going to add database. It's not letting me add a dynamic page. Switch to a different page. I guess because this is the home page. So let me do this. Let me duplicate. I'll rename the home page home even though we're not changing the design. There we go. Now I'm on the profile test page. Now, okay. So you cannot add a dynamic page to, you cannot make the home page a dynamic page. So now we can. I'm going to add this one. This is just a different glue. It's called the dynamic page glue. So when we're creating a new dynamic page, first we have to connect it to a collection. We only have one collection, which is the babysitter collection. So any information that's in that spreadsheet will be displayed here. How we want it displayed? One item per page, or are we going to do a category, either a group or a list of some kind? I'm going to do a single item page. You guys can play around with this later. Only because I already have a preset design I don't want to redo all over again. Now we get to basically pick our own URL for it. What do you want to label it? You could either be babysitter / title. In this case, I don't want the title to be that. I want it to be their name. So www.whatever your domain is /babysitter, because that's the name of my collection, / and then the name that the person entered. And that's going to be the unique URL to access whatever information is on that page. So let's go ahead and create it. There's my glue. I can move it around wherever. It doesn't bother you. It can literally be outside the lines. It doesn't matter because it will not show when the page is published. This is just so you can know this is what we're linking to this page. Notice how I don't have any user input. I just have text and pictures. This one is going to be a problem. Notice how when I select this text, this is text number 16, I can connect it to a database item. I cannot connect part of this text. So that means this name cannot connect to one part, and then this title cannot connect to another part. I would have to separate them. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to edit the text and remove them, basically splitting them and divorcing them here. And then well, not attaching them, but putting them back where they were, basically. All right. So now that those are split, I'm going to select Nicola Writer. I'm going to connect it to a database. And I'm going to be displaying the person's name. I don't have to change this text. This text, the way that it looks, the design, the color, the font, everything, this is exactly how that person's name will be displayed. So you don't have to change it every single time. This one is going to be connected to their title or the heading that they chose. This stays the same. These are buttons that I am not going to be using. They're just there to look pretty. This paragraph is going to be the intro, so I'm going to select it. I'm going to connect it to their intro. Again, you don't have to change it, or you don't have to mess with the font. Whatever font is already there, or whatever text is already there, you can just leave it. it's just a placeholder basically. You don't have to update it. I have a title that says phone, email, and Facebook. Notice how I have the exact same numbers on each one. Again, I don't have to change them. I just want to tell it that this is where the information is going to go. Make it a little bit bigger, longer. And then I'm going to tell it to connect to the phone, email, Facebook. This is where the availability goes. So this text, we have to change it to AM availability. Wow. I guess it's late. I don't know how to spell anymore. Availability. Anyway, you'll know what I mean. And the last one will be the weekend. Remember, these are just the labels. This is not the actual information. Don't link the information to this text. First, you won't see it in the available options, so you won't be able to save it, but you want to double click. Remember, it's a group. Double click over here so that way you can select the little check box, and now we're going to connect that check box to the actual data. So I'm going to select, none of these are available, so you can't choose the wrong ones. AM, PM, weekday, and weekend. Okay, so all of them are connected. Let's say I had more than one profile and people wanted to go, forward and back. I would create 2 buttons, any buttons. Let's put these little ones. Not for the sake of design, but for the sake of function and to show you how those buttons work. I'm going to put them in random places. I'm going to label them. I'm not going to connect them to anything. I don't want them to go anywhere. Okay, so I have previous and next, which means it'll go to the previous profile and the next profile. Now that I know what I want them to do, I need to connect the button to a function. I want it to do something. I don't want it to go somewhere, I want it to do something. So connect to the data. Again, we're still in the babysitter collection, and the label, the text, I don't want it to connect to anything. I've already labeled it myself. The link, where does it connect to? I want it to perform an action. I want it to go to the previous dataset item. And then just save it, and it connected. And then this one will go to the next. Make sure to publish. Okay, after your page is published, everything is saved. Now we need to configure some buttons. Remember when we connected this button to navigate to the home page after submission? Some of you may be wondering why you can't just connect it to the profile view directly instead of sending it to the home button. Well, that's a good question. And this is the reason. If you click on the button and click on the database, remember you have to choose what it does. You want it to perform an action. So you're either going to choose a submit action, or you're going to choose to visit a page. So your button can't submit and visit a page at the same time, at least not with these native settings that are here. If you wanted to submit and go to a different page at the same time, you would have to create some type of Wix code and actually add the code. And this is where you would do that. Don't ask me how, because I don't know. You would have to ask somebody else or check the forum to see if that's available. But as far as these little settings here, it's either going to do one or the other, not both, unless you provide actual Wix code so it could do that fancy stuff for you. So because we don't have the fancy code and we don't know that stuff yet, we're just going to let it navigate to the home page. So let's go back to the home page. And I've already prepared the home page. I added another data set. If you remember, it's in the add database, and then you click on data set. All I did was connect it to babysitter, because that's the only collection we have. You can't go wrong there. And it's on read only, which is fine. Then this button, I changed the text, and I'm going to connect it. Why? Because I want it to do something. I want it to go to my actual babysitter page. This is my dynamic page. Now, let me show you something. I'm going to publish it, and I'm going to visit the live website, because we're missing one step. I've already submitted a couple of entries in the form. They've already been entered, right? We assume it was successful because it went through the home page and through the whole procedure. If I click on this button though, it's not sending me to the page. The button works, the button knows exactly where to go. But the page that we linked it to is a dynamic page, which means there has to be information in there, because remember the URL that we selected was the domain /babysitter/ and then the name of the person. If a URL does not exist, this button won't go to a non-existing page. What do I mean by non-exist? We need to actually make sure that it saved information. So we're going to do two things. We're going to check the live collection to see if it even collected any data, and we're going to check the settings, because that is the first thing I forgot to check. I'm going to show you where. So let's go to the database, which is over here. Over here at the top corner, we're going to edit the live database. You will see that it looks a lot like basically the main dashboard when you log in to view websites and things like that. Here in this site, I have one collection, it's babysitter, and there it is. I'm going to click on manage. So you saw me enter a couple of times information on that form, and this is where that live information should be. But there is no information. And I remembered this because I forgot to check some settings. So if there's no live information here, that dynamic page does not exist yet, because it cannot be produced out of thin air. Everything is blank. So we cannot have a blank URL. So let me close this out. We're still in the database. This little button edit permissions. When we created it, we did tell it that we wanted a form input, right? It's a form, they're going to be inputting information. But all of this says who can read the content. Right now it's set to admin. I don't want it to be admin. I want it to be everyone. Who can create it? Anyone. Who can update it? This one I want to choose admin. Why? Because I didn't create another form where they can edit their information. I just created a form and I set the permissions to write only. If I wanted them to use that exact same for to edit the information, I would have selected read and write. So right now only the admin can change it. Where can they change it? From the live database manage section. That's where you can change and update the information. Who can delete it? The admin, because I don't have a delete button, or else I would have had to add a delete button. So now that I know who can read it and who can create it, I'm going to save. After you save it, make sure that you publish it. So that way all the changes that you made to the database settings are live. Now we can test our form one more time. I forgot the link, 1 second. There it is. Here's our beautiful home page, right? Let's go to add a profile. AM, weekdays, submit. Great, so now I'm back at the home page. I'm going to click on this button. And voila, now an actual profile exists. It actually saved the information because our settings were wrong. It was only set to admin and I wanted everyone to fill in the info. So now that we've filled out the form and we're viewing the actual profile, notice how here it changed the name. My title is test. This will stay the same. The previous and next button are grayed out only because there is no other existing profile, so it can't go forward or backward because it's just one. This is the information that I typed out. Help test, check this out. Phone number, I put that. Email, Facebook, I didn't put an URL. Availability, all the ones that I'm available are checked off.